Tim Nicholls, welcome.
Thanks, Jess.
Under the LNP's adult crime, adult time policy, if a 10-year-old committed murder, they would be sentenced to life in prison with a non-parole period of at least 20 years, is that right?
They'd be subject to the same processes in the court as an adult would be. Now, what the ultimate outcome would be would depend on the evidence before the court, but potentially they could end up with the maximum penalty under those circumstances. But
and that is the sentence for an adult who commits murder?
Well, there are a whole series of mitigating effects there, and it would depend on then a finding of guilt in those circumstances. But certainly the issue in those circumstances is for a series of crimes, murder, manslaughter, deliberately driving a vehicle at police or citizens, and committing those sorts of heinous crimes, we believe the appropriate response to that, to send a message to the community, is adult time when you commit an adult crime.
So are you comfortable with a 10-year-old getting a life sentence?
Yes, I've looked at the numbers, and I think in terms of creating a headline, people will go that way. But the reality is, what we're seeing is most of the violent offences where this is likely to occur are people in the 16, 17 and 18-year-old age group who are repeat recidivist offenders.
Youth advocates, the Human Rights Commission, the Law Society, they are all saying that your policy will not make Queensland safer. How do you respond to that?
Jess, I respond to that by this very, very clearly. In the last 4 years, the number of repeat recidivist offenders has gone from just over 400 to over 700 now. We've had 15 terrible deaths that have occurred since the youth crime crisis has emerged under this Labor government. We've seen elderly people attacked while going shopping. What has been done for the last 10 years has not worked.
But what evidence do you have that what you're proposing will work?
Well, what we are talking about is we're talking about protecting the community, prevent by early intervention. We're talking about rehabilitation and intervention. So it's not one thing, Jess, and I think all of those people, the Law Society and the others, are all coming from looking at one aspect of our policy. And they're forgetting that we've announced $175 million to go into intensive rehabilitation when people leave prison. We've put in $40 million for early intervention schools.
And they have welcomed that, but what is
Not very loudly, because I keep a very close eye on it.
What is your evidence that tougher sentencing will work? Are there other jurisdictions that have gone down this route?
There are certainly other jurisdictions that use the adult crime, adult time type of operation.
Where's that?
Where New South Wales, for example, has provisions in it, slightly different offences, not the same, all the same offences, but certainly for murder and manslaughter, where a child who commits that offence is liable for that sentence. So adult crime, adult time is about sending a very strong message that there are consequences for actions. The aim of it is to prevent people from committing those crimes in the first place. But fundamentally, if someone is determined to commit those crimes, and we know that there are people like that, young offenders like that, then there needs to be protection for the community. And the community is saying, we want protection.
Alice Springs this year imposed a youth curfew twice. Would the LNP ever consider imposing a youth curfew in a city in Queensland?
We've made it clear we're not talking about a curfew.
Why not? You keep telling us we've got a youth crime crisis. Why not go down that path?
Well, our plan is around those matters that I spoke about. So it's protection, prevention, intervention and rehabilitation. And we are looking at all four of those matters. And we've put a very comprehensive policy together.
Tim Nicholls, thank you.
That's a pleasure, Jess.